Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. Working on my 2005 Ford Excursion 6.0 Power Stroke Diesel again. And if you guys follow along on the channel or seen some of my recent videos, you know that I just put one out on this not too long ago where my turbo unison ring was frozen up. So I was having boost issues. But I also had an oil leak as well, and I thought it was coming from the turbo drain tube O-ring. But now that it's been a few weeks, the oil leak is still there. And it's coming from the top part of the engine on the back side there, right around the high pressure oil pump where I believe. And then it starts to drain down onto the transmission bell housing and dripping on the ground there. So I'm going to go ahead and investigate it a little more there. I'm going to go ahead and pull everything back off, get that turbo out of the way, and I'll go ahead and pull that high pressure oil pump cover. So really quick here, I just want to show you in case you guys are having the same symptoms. But as you can see, so I got some fresh oil there, and it seems to be leaking all along the bell housing here. You can see on these transmission cooling lines here as well, so it's dripping right up there by the starter. And then it goes all the way up, it's kind of hard to see, but all the way up to the back side of the engine. So it's just dripping down and then going down along here. So I'm going to go ahead and start out by removing both batteries here. So grab yourself an 8mm. And let's go ahead and get these terminals off here. And then grab your 8mm, got your battery hold down right here as well. So next I'm going to go ahead and remove the intake, and I actually have a new one that S&B sent me, so I'll be replacing this one with the new updated one. But if you guys got the stock one, it may be a little different here. So let's go ahead and remove everything on that. So now go ahead and grab yourself a pair of pliers. Let's go ahead and disconnect these two lines going to the degas bottle there. Then grab your 8mm, go ahead and take off these two bolts here, holding your degas bottle on there. And then you can go ahead and kind of lift up on it, get it out of these two holes here that those tabs are in. And then just kind of get that up out of the way here. Grab you a trim tool just like this, and you got these Christmas tree clips right here holding that wiring loom on there, so go ahead and disconnect those. And then go ahead and disconnect these two clips here. This one used to have one, as you can see it's broken. And then just be careful as you're doing this. These tend to break real easy, just this plastic here. And then over here on the passenger side, you got one right there as well. Go ahead and take that one off. Then go ahead and grab yourself a bungee here, and we'll go ahead and lift this up over the coolant bracket there. Get your bungee, go around here, and then just try to hook it up somewhere on the hood here. So kind of like that, so it's out of the way. Next, grab a 7/16. Let's go ahead and remove this, or loosen up this clamp here for our hot side intercooler pipe here. Then go ahead and follow that pipe down, and let's go ahead and loosen up this one here with your 7/16 as well. Then Then go ahead and try and remove that intercooler pipe. You can start out down here if you want. Slide that off the intercooler. And then go ahead and try and get it off the turbo here. Then go ahead and remove that. And then next part's optional, but I like to, if you guys watched my last video, it was much easier getting the turbo out by removing this alternator, getting this out of the way. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to go ahead and plug your wiring harness here. And then on the back side here, behind this rubber boot, got a 13mm nut. Go ahead and pull that off. Then go ahead and slide this off of here. And then just replace your nut so you don't lose it. So now let's go ahead and try to get our belt off the alternator here. And if you guys saw in my last video, I got this little tool here that works well for the 6.0s to get down there on the tensioner. So we'll go ahead and relieve the tension and slide that belt off. Next, I'll remove my 2 bolts holding my alternator in there. And these are going to be 13mm on mine. Might be a little different with the stock alternator. Then go ahead and disconnect your VGT solenoid here. I got the metal clip style here. Pop that up. That slides right out. And then also held on by this clip down here. Get that out of the way. Grab a 7/16. Let's go ahead and loosen up that down pipe clamp there. And then you should be able to get your hand back behind here on one side. Take your other one. Go ahead and push that together. And bring this clamp upward. Just like that. You can see how that kind of clips in there. Just got to squeeze it together, just like that. Get that out of the way. So now our exhaust is loose, our downpipe. And if you guys have the original exhaust, you'll have a clip right up here on the top that goes over the turbo. And then you guys will have the same thing on this side here. So grab your 7/16. Let's go ahead and loosen that clamp up there. So then kind of the same thing. Just get back behind here and try to squeeze that to get that out of there. And then you can just kind of unclip it a little bit here just to get it up out of the way there. So just come over here, bring your socket around here to the driver's side with your extension, and then you got to kind of feel for it, or you can Use your flashlight here. Try to get on that there. So right there, like that, you can kind of see the black bolt there. Grab my socket wrench here. There's what that looks like. And then you can move on to this front one right here. And then your third bolt is going to be right down in there. So let's go ahead and pull that one as well. And then up top here, disconnect your two oil feed tube lines on top of the turbo with your 10mm. Follow that down, and then you got a 10mm bolt right there as well. Then go ahead and pop this out of here. Just pulls out of there like that. So now let's see if we can get this turbo out of here. You may have to use a pry bar to pop it out of here. But since I just removed this, it might be okay. Let me get this clamp out of the way here. So then just kind of lift up on it. Get this light out of the way. Just kind of rotate it, get it up out of here, and pull it out. Then grab your turbo drain tube. This will just pull right out of the high pressure oil pump there. Grab your 10mm. Let's go ahead and remove this turbo stand. So go ahead and remove these two bolts right there. And then you got two on this side as well. Go ahead and remove those. Go ahead and lift your stand out of here. Alright, so before I go any further here, I'm going to go ahead and grab a rag and I'll stuff it down into the high pressure oil pump there. And I'm going to go ahead and clean this valley out really good, scraping it and using some brake clean here, because I don't want any of that debris or anything going down in the engine when we remove that high pressure oil pump cover there. Alright, so as you can see, you got that valley all cleaned up using brake clean, some compressed air, and then just some rags and also a scraper there. And I made sure nothing got down in there. I plugged that up with a rag and everything. So now, in order for me to access that back cover bolt there, you can see this does have an EGR delete on it, but I'm not going to be able to get that bolt out back there, so I'm going to have to go ahead and remove that plug there. So let me go ahead and do that. So kind of like that, and actually I think I'll just go ahead and remove it, get it out of the way here. be all right like that. And then I'm gonna go ahead and just remove this clamp all the way here, just to give me a little more room. And then same with my down pipe on as well. So next I'm gonna remove, so there's two 8mm bolts that come in through the back, bolted into the cover there, holding this heat shield on back here. You can't really see them, but you can see the hole right here for this one, and the other one's back in here. So this one I'm gonna have to reach around, I think. This one I can go through this opening right here. So let me go ahead and try and do this. I'm just gonna use a 8mm stubby wrench here. And you just gotta go off a feel. Okay, so there's what that looks like. Alright guys, so this one's going to be a challenge to get to, but what I got is a 1/4" drive with a deep well 8mm. I'm going to try to reach in through there. And my arm might block the camera, but let's see if this works. So again, go off a feel, try to get on it. So there's what that looks like. And then I'm just going to go ahead and remove that clamp there, just to get it out of the way. So now let's go ahead and try to get this Ipr valve out of here. So you got this like cover blanket on this. I think it's just a snap is what this is. So yeah, that just unsnaps. And then fold that back. And trying to remember how this plugged in. So I'm not sure if you guys can see what I'm doing here, but you can see. So it's just Velcroed over that. So you undo that. And then you got the metal clip style like I had on the Turbo VGT solenoid. So you undo the clip. Maybe. Yeah, undo the clip going towards the driver's side there. And then you should be able to unplug it here. Just like that. So here's what it looks like. So it plugs in there towards the front of the vehicle like that, and then you got this clip that locks it in place, and then this is just wrapped around it. Same with the other little blanket here. Alright guys, so before I go ahead and pull that cover off, I just want to take another look under here just to make sure. So I'm pretty sure it is coming from that high pressure oil pump cover. Because as you can see, hopefully you guys can see this, but if I shine my light up in there, so if you can see that bolt right there, just above that bolt is where the high pressure oil pump cover attaches there. And you can see, hopefully you guys can see, but you can see how wet it is, and that's fresh oil on there. So I believe it's leaking right there where it attaches. And then if you come along, you can see this is all fresh. So it's dripping down, coming right along here, and then it drips onto the lines here, and then it kind of just spreads out, and then also drips down onto the bell housing here. So now let's go ahead and pull this cover. Grab yourself an 8mm, and let's go ahead and take all these bolts out. Just be very careful when you're pulling these out. Don't want to drop any, especially when you get this cover off. Don't want to drop anything down in that motor. And then I'll have to plug this up as well, but maybe using that to help pry the cover up here. So let's go ahead and get all those out real quick. So now let's see if I can just pry this off of here. Probably not. I think I'm gonna have to get like a putty knife or something to slide under it to help remove it. But I was hoping to get my finger kind of in here. I really wish I had a topside creeper. That would help a lot getting up in here. But let's see if I can pull this off now. And I'll kind of use my Ipr valve a little bit here too. There we go. So let's go ahead and again, be very careful. Let's lift this out of here. Don't want anything dropping down in there. So make sure everything's clear, no bolts or anything. And let's go ahead and lift this cover up out of here. Okay, so with our high pressure oil pump cover off and our pump exposed now, I'm pretty confident that my oil leak was coming from the back corner back there on the passenger side. I'll show you here in a minute. My pump cover gasket was pretty flat and also dried out, so I'm thinking it was starting to fail there. It wasn't leaking much, but it was just annoying, you know, a few drips overnight. And then I wasn't having any issues with it running, or I wasn't having any hard starts or anything. So I'm gonna go ahead and leave that high pressure oil pump in there because I don't see the point in replacing it if I'm not having any issues with it. But I think what I will do is I want to replace this upper O-ring here, and there's also one right inside there for this discharge, or they call it a J-tube. So I'm going to go ahead and pop that out and replace that O-ring because that one is prone to failure. So I figured I might as well just do that while I got this exposed. So let's go ahead and do that. And then you got two 8mm bolts we need to pull real quick. And again, just be careful while you're doing this. You don't want to drop any of these bolts or anything down in there. So I'll go ahead and break them free here. Pull them out one by one. And then to get this J-tube off of here, so you got to use this special tool here, which I got off Amazon, and it was actually next day shipping, and it was only $8. So I'll go ahead and put a link in the description for this. So let's go ahead and try it out here. So what you do, get up here. So you'll take this end here and go right behind that black part there. Push down, and then you should be able to actually get this off a little bit here, and then pull. And this should release just like that. Okay, so with our discharge tube out, or our J-tube, I'll go ahead and show you on the old one here. So if I take a look inside here, you can see the metal snap to connect ring there on the outside. And then if you look in there, it looks like there's only a single O-ring in there. Whereas the new one, I'm not sure if this is an update or what, but this is the new one I got today at the Ford dealership. And you can see the snap to connect. You can also see there's a white Teflon O-ring and then a black O-ring behind that. So like I said, I'm not sure if maybe this is an update that I didn't know about, but definitely has two O-rings in there compared to the single one on the old tube there. And then it also comes with this extra D-ring, which I don't know why they include that, because there's already one on here. But that's definitely the same O-ring, so I'm not really sure why that is included with this J-tube. So there's the part number. And if you guys are going to get this, I'd get it online. I got this at my Ford dealership and it was like $70 more than I could get it online, but I need it to get this vehicle back up and running. And if you take a look here, you can see this came off with it. So you got a thin O-ring right there as well that goes on the bottom, which I don't know why they just don't include that one with this instead of, you know, this extra one here, which definitely is not that. So what I ended up doing was I also got this. There's the part number for that. And this includes 3 O-rings. So you got your yellow one, which would go, if I were to remove my high pressure oil pump, that would go on the bottom. And then they give you another D-ring, and then they give you this thinner one, which goes, you know, on the backside there. And this came with instructions on here, so it does include this with this kit here. And you can see, of course, that's going to be your yellow one, your D-ring, and then the like I said, the thinner one there, which the tube goes on top of. So then let's go ahead and get some of this oil soaked up here. I'm just going to take a clean paper towel and then just kind of put it over the top here. Let that soak into the paper towel. Kind of get that cleaned up a little bit here where that O-ring goes. And then what I'll do next is I'm gonna grab my air compressor with a rag and I'm just gonna blow out these 2 holes really quick because I want to make sure I get the correct torque on that. So you don't want a bunch of oil in there because you won't get the correct reading. So like I said, just be careful doing this as well. I'm just gonna kind of go like this, put my rag around it, just give it a quick blowout there. Same thing on this one. And I'll just show you real quick. So, like again, I said I'm not sure why they include you that extra D-ring in there, because that's the one they include with it, but as you can see, that does not fit on there. So you'll take this thin one, and that'll just sit right in there. Just coat it with a little oil there so it kind of stays. And let's go ahead and stick that on there. And that should just push in on there. Let me get a better grip here. And you can hear it snap. Then just bring it down. Just make sure that gasket's on there or that O-ring's on there correctly. Get your 2 bolts. So then grab your torque wrench and we're going to torque those to 8 foot-pounds, which really isn't much at all. And it might be there already. Yep. So next I'm going to go ahead and clean up all along the gasket mating surface there, and then try to get some of that silicone out of there as well. But I will also be making sure that I do not get any of that down into the engine there. So like I said, I'll just try and pick some of this off here, but I think I'll shove a rag in there just because I don't want to get any of that down in there. Okay guys, so as you can see, got that all cleaned up. Just used a razor blade really carefully and scraped all that old silicone out of there, and then also cleaned up where the gasket was. So I think now what I'll do is I'm going to do kind of the same thing that I did with the these two bolts here where they connected in. I'm going to go ahead and blow out all these cover bolt holes here, because I want to make sure I get the correct torque on the cover bolts as well. Okay, so here's the cover, and I'm going to go ahead and clean this out as well, just along the edges here. I'm not going to clean the inside because I'm not going to take out my Ipr valve. I wasn't having any issues with that either, so I don't want to make sure I don't get anything down in there, and then it goes into that screen. So just show you here real quick. So this is the back side here, and let me see if I can pop out this gasket here. So I'll go ahead and pull this gasket out of here, but it's kind of hard to see, but it's kind of really flat right here, so I'm thinking that's why it was leaking back in here and then right along here. So go ahead and pull this out, and this gasket only goes in one way because you got this little notch right here, and that'll go right up in here. So I'll go ahead and do kind of the same thing, just lightly scrape with my razor right here where the silicone was, and then just kind of get this all cleaned up, and then go ahead and get our new gasket in here. Okay, so I got that cleaned up as best as I could. So let's go ahead and throw our new gasket on in here. So that's the part number right there. Got this from the Ford dealership today as well. I paid like $27 for this, but I'll put a link in the description for one off Amazon, because I think you can get this for right around 16 bucks online. Definitely worth it. Let me go ahead and open this, and like I said, this will only go on one way. So if you see this little notch right here, that'll fit down in there. So just go ahead and get this put in here evenly, and then go ahead and push it down. Make sure it's in all the grooves and that. So it should look something like that. Again, just make sure it's all the way down into those grooves. Okay, so one last thing we need to do before the cover goes on is we need to put some silicone on those areas that had it before. And I'm just going to be using, it's called the Right Stuff. It's pretty much ultra black is all it is, just a 90-minute stuff. But you want to just put just like a glob. I'm just going to put a glob right here. Just something kind of like that. And then I'll do the same on this side. So just something kind of like that. And I might actually got a little too much over here. And then I'm also going to just take my finger here, just see if I can get some of this oil right here. And I'm just going to put a little bit around this O-ring right here, just to help that cover slide on just a little easier on that. So get your cover on. you can see kind of a little resistance here. And I think that's just from that O-ring. So let me see if I can get up here and push down on that a little more. I'll try pushing on this evenly here. There we go. So you just got to get that that O-ring there on the J2 set inside the cover here. So now let's go ahead and start getting all of our bolts in by hand, and we'll do the final torque. And then I'll go ahead and get these just kind of snug by hand here. Try to go evenly. They're almost like a star pattern here. So grab your torque wrench, and we'll torque those to 8 foot-pounds as well. And you may not be able to get a torque wrench on some of these in here, but we'll go ahead and try. Okay guys, so I went ahead and got all those tight. I was able to get my torque wrench on just these, pretty much just these front ones there. It's pretty much impossible to get them on those back ones there, so I just kind of went by feel. But you want to do those to right at 8 foot-pounds. Like I said, it's not much on this, so now the fun part of getting these bolts in the back here through that heat shield onto your cover there. And I think a lot of guys will just skip this part here, but I still like to keep them in here just to hold that shield on there. So this one's not too bad. It's this other one here. All right, so that's pretty hard to get back in there. So I'm gonna go ahead and try the grease trick here. Just put some grease on it. And you can see that kind of suctions it to the socket here. And let me see if I can get this started like that. And go ahead and tighten those up. So now let's go ahead and plug in the Ipr valve here. And you got to kind of go off of just feel on this. So next we'll plug in our Ipr valve here. And you got to kind of go off of feel on this. But again, it'll go in there, plug in there, and then this clip goes over it. So let's get it down in here. And then you'll take your little blanket and kind of wrap it around that plug there. And then also make sure you get this this little clip on here so you don't burn that insulation. Goes right on top of this stud there. Then grab your other blanket here, get that around the valve. Try to get that snap back on there. Kind of like that. And And then of course on mine, I have the EGR delete. So I'm gonna go ahead and put this plug back in, back here in the back, and tighten that up. And then I'll go ahead and just get these back in place kind of as well. Just get them on here. Now go ahead and grab your turbo pedestal. Get your 4 10mm bolts, and let's go ahead and stick those in, get them started, and then go ahead and tighten them up. I'm not sure what the torque is on these, so I'm just going pretty snug on them. Don't want to go too tight though, they'll strip out. Next, grab your turbo drain tube here, and normally I would replace these O-rings, but like I said, I just pulled this turbo 3 weeks ago, and these I replaced them then, so they're still good. And I put a little fresh oil on them, so let's go ahead and snap that in down there. So like that. All right, so now the fun part, turbo time. So again, you'll have your dowels that line up on your bracket here. And let's go ahead and get this turbo back in here. And actually, let me move my camera here. So again, you'll just have to rotate it however you can, and we'll get it set up on that drain tube there. So as you can see, I'm not fully on because those dowels aren't lining up yet. So you just got to kind of maneuver it and wiggle it however you can to get those to set up correctly. And then also check your clamps back here, make sure you're not getting caught up on them. There we go. Just got to get it just correct, and then it kind of just drops into place there. Then go ahead and get your 3 turbo bolts back in. Get them started by hand, and then go ahead and tighten them up. She what? Yeah. Oh, yeah. Probably not. So now we'll go ahead and connect our Y-pipe clamp here. So just go ahead and reach around, try and get that in place here. Make sure you're all the way around it. It's kind of hard to see on this camera here. You get that latched, and then you can kind of bring your clamp down to where you can get to your nut to tighten it there. And let's go ahead and tighten that. And then grab your 7/16 and let's go ahead and tighten up that clamp. So now we'll do the same to this side too here for your downpipe. And looks like I may have to lift up a little bit on mine to get it to connect right. Now we'll do the same to the downpipe here. Get our clamp lined up, and I may have to lift up on my exhaust here. Not sure. Kind of like that. Then go ahead and take your feed tube. And again, these O-rings are only a few weeks old, so I'm reusing them, but you would be using a new one. So get that down in there and go ahead and push that in until you hear it kind of snap. Kind of like that. Grab your bolt and go ahead and get that started by hand there. Come up top here, and I'll be reusing that gasket as well. If it starts leaking, then I can go ahead and replace it. It's pretty easy to replace since it's all on top here. Get your bolts and go ahead and get those started as well. Then go ahead and plug in your VGT solenoid here. Get that down in there. Lock that in place. And then of course this as well. And then before I get my alternator put back in, I'm gonna go ahead and get my hot side intercooler pipe on. I think it might be easier with the alternator off. So I'll go ahead and slip this down in here. And I'll go ahead and get the intercooler side on down here first. So kind of like that. And then you got kind of like a little plastic stopper where that hose is supposed to line up against. And then just get your clamp where it should be. And then before I get that one tight down there, I want to make sure I can get this on first. So let's go ahead and put this one on here. that. And now let's go ahead and tighten those up to your 7/16. You go ahead and grab your alternator and let's get that in place. And then of course get your belt back over your alternator there. You have to push towards the driver's side. Get your belt routed the way it should be. Go up and over. Make sure you're in all the grooves. And go ahead and let go of the tension here. Okay, so next we'll go ahead and get our degas bottle back up in there and get this wiring harness. But before we do that, really quick here, I bought a new degas bottle because I was having issues with that old one. I've replaced this before, and this is just the cheap Dorman one. And I noticed last time I drove it, I was starting to get some coolant coming out from back here along this seal. So I just went ahead and ordered a new one, and I went with the original Motorcraft this time. I'm not going to waste my money anymore on this Dorman one. So let me go ahead and get this swapped out, and then I'll come back. So as you can see, I got that all installed. So now let's go ahead and drop this down here. And we'll get that back underneath here. And then of course, go ahead and snap those back in right here. Get this over the top. And then this one right here. And then also this one. And then of course your two little pins here, snap those in. And this one's broken here. Then go ahead and get your degas bottle back in. Remember, you got this little tab back in here. So you want to get that into that little bracket back there. And then lift up, get it up over these. And it should go into place there. Grab your two bolts and go ahead and tighten those up. Connect your line from your radiator to your degas bottle. Go ahead and get your clamp back in place there. And then same with the other one that's coming off your intake. Next, I'll go ahead and start getting my intake back in. And like I said earlier in the video, I got a new one from S&B, so they just charged me an upgrade fee, and then I get some money back on the old one. Okay, so got that intake all in. A lot better design than the previous S&B, so they did upgrade it quite a bit. And then as you can see, I put a wrap around this filter. That's what they offer as well, because on the old one, even after just a couple months, that filter would get just black. So I'm not sure if it was because this was open on the side here and now it's enclosed, but we'll see if that helps. So now we can go ahead and get our batteries in. All right, guys, so that's pretty much it under here. I need to run to the store real quick to get some distilled water so I can mix my coolant, and I'll top that off real quick and then come back and we'll go ahead and start it. All right, so as you can see, got the coolant all filled back up, so let's go ahead and start it. And then with the running, just double check right around the valley and that, make sure you're not leaking any oil. And then also take a peek underneath, make sure you're not dripping any underneath as well. All right, guys, so that's going to do it for the video. I'm going to go ahead and take this for a spin. Seems to be running great. And stay tuned to the end of the video there. I'll put some miles on this, and then I'll crawl back under there here in a few days, and I'll post a clip of what that looks like underneath, and we'll see if that took care of the annoying oil leak there. So hopefully this video helps you out. Again, this was a 2005 Ford Excursion 6.0 Power Stroke diesel, and I went ahead and replaced the high pressure oil pump cover gasket, and then also replaced the discharge tube, or it's also known as the J tube, coming off of the high pressure oil pump there. So hopefully this video helps you out, and if it does, why don't you subscribe to my channel, check out all my other videos, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks. Okay, so it's been about 5 days since I did the pump cover gasket there, and put about 100 miles or so on it since then. So I just want to do a quick update, and you can see my driveway is clean. And if I go up here, you can see right at the starter there, everything looks dry. Come down along the bell housing here, whereas before there would just be oil dripping, like I said, right at this area right in here, and it was coming down from the top there, dripping down. So everything looks good. So it looks like that's what the issue was that high pressure oil pump gasket was leaking.